everyone, and welcome to today's video. My name is Cassandra, and I'm here to talk a little bit about a couple of things that came up when it comes to corporate America and the villainization that's been associated to corporate America. You'll actually be taking a look at my board right here. You can see my ring light showing up, so. And then I want you to read the words out loud. I would say the number one reason that people experience fear around corporations is because they don't actually want to follow any rules. So you have to have, especially if you have thousands of employees, if you don't have a corporation comes and buys you out. If you don't have corporation, because corporation is incorporating something. So people have villainized corporation. They villainize corporation because they're not good at business, meaning they're not good employees. And on the flip side of that, you do have some corporations that are really bad corporations. I will agree to that. However, if you define your company with culture, then whether you're a corporation or you're not a corporation, the bulk effect of what a corporation will do is bring structure. And most people don't want to be in a structural position. However, it's how you develop business. Because imagine being an artist and you are working within structure. However, why haven't you produced the documentation that is necessary to do your job? So there are some negatives and positives to working for a corporation and within corporations. And specifically, let's speak to Gary Vaynerchuk's business, VaynerMedia, that's not at a corporation. And then I'll compare it to a position that I worked for in a corporation that's very similar to what Gary Vaynerchuk has developed, which occurred as if it was a corporation. And we were able to build culture working within the corporation. So when you don't incorporate a company and you're dealing with cultures across the globe, this is basically your company. All rooted in this bullshit story of empathy. Have empathy for me. Have empathy for me, have empathy for me, have empathy for me, have empathy for me, have empathy for me. I'm the victim, have empathy for me. Have empathy for me. Oh, you poor thing. I do have empathy for you. You poor thing. Oh, you need work-life balance? You're 22 years old? What exactly are you balancing? You're partying? So it cracks me up when I see these people who claim to want to change the world. And they're in conversation. Like the conversation about work-life balance isn't about balancing emotions or anything. It's literally a balancing their time. Well, I want to balance my time so I can party on the weekends. How do I get out of work earlier when I'm only really working throughout the day like 3 hours? What's my work-life balance? I don't have a boyfriend. I don't have children. I'm 22 years old. I want to be famous. I only want to work 2 hours a day. How do I find work-life balance? Meaning I only want to do a 4-hour work week. However, the millennials aren't lazy. Sitting at your desk shopping for clothes is not working. Unless you're coming up with ideas on how to sell a product for the company you're working for. And then that literally doesn't take very long. Because you've put in the repetitions to advance yourself into something that's a progressive state for yourself and the company you're working for. Meaning if you can do it for a big company, You learn for yourself in the future. However, you have to do it for the big company first. You do get that, right? See, most people are trying to sell out the big company before they've actually done the work because they think that they don't want to give free money away to somebody who they're milking the clock under. This is the mentality of this new generation. It's bizarre. I'm not sure why you would want to go out on your own anyways. I mean, I know your parents are loaded and you've got tons of money, but you never went to college. You're really not very talented and you're not very fun to work with. Culture. Culture is not known by your company because you're not a corporation. That means in China they have a culture. In India they got a culture. In the USA, in LA they got a culture. In Florida they got a culture. In New York they got their culture. And then you're attempting to bring these people, and I'm being facetious here as we know that they don't have one in India or China yet. They're trying to bring people together on a Zoom call, and then they all fluff each other's ass. Well, I work so hard, and how do I have work-life balance? Well, I'm sorry, but I don't know why you're asking me this question. It looks like you clocked in at 9 o'clock on Monday, and on Monday you clocked out at 12, and then you came back from lunch at 2. And then on Wednesday, you were only here for 3 hours because you said this, that, and the other. And so it looks like you're finding pretty good work-life balance. You're actually more invasive in the fun life balance. So how do you have more fun life balance? Is that what you're asking? So unless you're producing content at the scale that I'm creating at this time, I don't know if you've been watching or following along LA with my content to see the volume of production. My biggest concern is getting my social media out onto the internet. I mean, right now I'm downloading a video that's taking freaking forever to download and it's pissing me off. Because I have a whole long list of at least 100 videos that I want to create to put out onto the internet. And I've already posted on Twitter and what's the other one? True Social at least 200 times. Because I've developed myself to not have fear around what you think about me. So this empathy bullshit talk, because y'all think you're all empaths, enough is enough. Being an empath is the worst thing you could ever be. You do get that, right? You keep your emotions to your damn self. That's why you can't produce. That's why you're not creative. That's why you're in this question of, well, how do I create work-life balance? I'm 20 years old. It's called, take a look at following the culture and the expectation of what you got hired for. Because you knew what you got hired for and how many hours you were supposed to work. And when I take a look at people working at your agency, I don't see people exhausted except for maybe Dustin. Or those that are literally sitting right across from you in New York City. And even that's questionable. Because when you're there at 8 o'clock at night, nobody else is there. We darn sure know that people that are sitting at home are doing their laundry. I would say the biggest challenges while working in these type of industries is the people you're working with impressing each other and competing with each other and sexualization within the organization. All barriers, literally, just like this. Women being mean to other women, which aren't really women, they're children. This is the brain. Unclear about what your culture actually is, although you're all yelling out culture. This fluff talk. Meaning the person sitting at the front's telling you all about what culture is. However, all you can see is this. How much money? How much fame? How much clout? When's my turn to be famous? When do I get to meet the most famous rapper in the world? Look at me and how fancy I am at VaynerMedia. We're like a global company with 2,000 employees. Ooh, wow, we're so impressed. I used to work in a dental community that had thousands and thousands of employees, and we were corporate. Because within corporate, you can actually create pockets of what occurs as like freedom. However, corporate is the blessing of a lifetime for a man who owns a big company. And as you work through corporation, you start working through the pockets of what's correct and what's incorrect, and people actually start understanding what culture is. Because in USA LA, in USA New York City, it's going to be a baseline culture within a culture of your company. So it's like multi-level marketing. So for you individuals who think that we're becoming the new world order, it doesn't work like that, because that's how empathetic you actually are. Your culture at this time is codependence, victimization, crybaby syndrome, and not doing your job. I'll pretend of the words that you're teaching these folks while they abuse each other. So it's like bullying, but it's on the surface. It's not bullying. So it's like looking at Monavand. Look at how intelligent I am. Look how pretty I am. Look at how pretty I am. Look how sexy I am. Look at the seduction. Look at all this beautifulness of who I am. Although underneath, she teaches absolutely nothing. She's nothing but garbage. And she just is going, where's my money? Look at how I'm in another photograph with Gary Vaynerchuk as I act like a 12-year-old girl. Excuse me, a 12-year-old boy with basketball titties. And then if you want to make the man in this scenario, he's running around going, ooh, basketball titties, ooh. That's the culture. So if you want to know how to know what your biggest challenge is at this time, folks, that would be Monavand. That's that whole scenario with Monavand. And honestly, your biggest challenge right now is me, because I have an expectation of you as an employee to do your job. And if you don't know what your job is, then you need to start getting inquisitive and asking questions to the people that are your superiors to find out what your job is, because you all don't know what your job is, which means you don't have a clear pathway to create. You're all making shit up. You just know how to hashtag and use the dollar sign to spread your filth across the globe. All I have to do is find out what you're responsible for when it comes to advertising, and I could literally pick it apart and tell you that that's not appropriate. Whether you're 20 years old, whether you're 60 years old, whether you're 70 years old, you do not understand culture. You do not understand people skills. You do not understand human. So you're all a bunch of you're posturing. You're posturing and you're bullies. And then if you can imagine, your company is reaching the eyes of millions, which means that you're spreading posturing and bullying as the norm. Because how you are in your organization is how you sell a product. So the beauty thing about me is I'm actually calling you out on your shit, so that we can iron out the wrinkles and recreate the company into something that's more substantial for other people, not so you can look cool in front of your mom and dad or your sister or your brother who you're competing with. Morning and night routine. Are you shitting me right now? We're in a corporate meeting right now. This is actually corporate. It just doesn't have the incorporation behind the name yet. And you're going to ask me about my morning and night routine. I'm going to actually take a step back and come back to this, because I don't really see any value in this for you specifically. Unless these are staged questions. Unless you're trying to hint at conversation around who he's sleeping with. How do you wake up next to Mona every morning? Are you actually dating Mona right now? What's your night routine with Mona? Do you guys drink wine together? Are you screwing every night? Is this what you're getting at? Are you actually asking real content. Because you're like 20 years old and that shouldn't even be on your radar at this time. So either Gary Vaynerchuk is a complete dick or you're just a complete slut. Or you're being coached by the female community. See, y'all don't know how to work in business in a professional setting. Because everything in your building of LA is all sexual. This is where your mind is. Focused on empathy. Poor you. Oh, poor you. You're poor you. Oh, you poor thing. The reason why it's a poor you is because you created the toxic work environment with your bullying, your backstabbing, and your nonsense with your question, morning and night routine. Meaning these questions weren't actually really for anything more than what you teach within your organization, which is gossip. Because if he were to say that him and Mona had a glass of wine every single night, you all would run around the office and gossip about it. What if I told you that him and I were together every single night and it's a true story? We communicate every single night. Me and Gary communicate every single morning and every single night. He wakes up next to me and then we go to sleep together. What if I told you that? Are you going to run around and gossip about it? Or are you going to realize that me and him are actually married? And that everything that he's doing with this woman is to show each and every one of you how not to do business. From the court case to where we are today, from the very beginning where I was tagging him in every content piece, it was all to show you, his company, how not to behave. Yet here we go again with another stupid question. What's your morning and night routine? Last one is being upset about something. If you're working in an organization such as you are working with people's feelings and emotions, which you are in advertising, this is how psychotic you all are. If you're upset about something, you need to figure out why you're upset, because you will then create that within the work that you're creating. And then when you do figure out what that thing is, you need to learn how to regroup yourself into creating a positive tone of how can I create while I'm feeling like this? Like, what would I tell myself if I was someone else to empower someone else? Because I know that they're probably going through the same thing as me. But instead, you will never get there, by the way, unless you do work associated to this. Otherwise, you're just creating like this. Let me just say we have optimism and empathy and do the right thing and blah, 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 and blah, 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 and that's what we're gonna do. Meanwhile, you are spreading your filth in diarrhea form all over the audience or whatever it is your job that you do there. Even if you're the male guy. What else was it? If you're upset about something within the office, New York City comes up. Then you need to speak out about it. And this is where Brave Bison comes in. See, when you're having conversations on camera, you're obviously fluff talking everything, but I know what goes on behind the scenes because you're actually the same way you are on camera as you are behind the scenes, because I've worked in corporate. You're in corporate. You just don't have the title corporate, and then you're fighting corporate because you are entitled little brats. And honestly, if you have the right corporation, you can create it as a viable source to grow in business. You do realize that, right? Like with corporate, you have a backing of like solidarity, of strength to rise up in the ranks. But instead, since you don't want to be a corporation, you're this. And you're all saying fuck empathy anyways. So you going, oh my gosh, I can't believe she wrote that. And then I want to write a number on the board to remind you ladies how old Gary is. He may act like he's a child, But he is 47 years old. He's old enough to be your grandfather, honestly. So y'all think age is such a demon experience, but age comes wisdom and experience, both of which you do not have. So instead you ask questions like, how do I find work-life balance at 24 years old? Just go figure it out. You're mentally unstable. Consider that you're the problem in the community that you created around culture. You turned around the words into something that doesn't make any sense, which is why you can't find work-life balance. You got the wrong people leading because everybody thought to take a look at basketball titties instead of taking a look at the people that are really up to doing the right thing by other people. Look, basketball titties. It's what happens when the owner of the company shows up at fancy parties in a casino and then tries to look cool while everyone sits in silence. It's called out of integrities. So it directly affects how you are in your personal life, whether you like it or not. How you are in one area is how you are in all areas. You can try all you might, but you are still affecting your business by who's showing up on the internet. When it comes to being upset about something, it's important to express yourself, whether it's on paper, whether it's to the person that you're frustrated with, whether it's in the group meeting. But all your meetings are like this. I know exactly how y'all talk too because I sat there and listened to people talk like you. And I've been that person too, where I've kind of tiptoed around the problem. But when I was in corporation, I always worked with people who were pretty close in conversation. So we would all complain, and we would complain in the meetings, and we would have real conversations. So someone telling me to brush it under the rug, that doesn't work when it comes to creating freedom within your work environment. And I can feel, I'm an energetic healer, right? So I can feel the energetic angst within your organization. However, I won't be evolving or discussing it in this conversation with you because it's just not my job. It's not my job to do that. So then you handle it. I'm not getting paid. I'm an observer. I literally am an energy healer. I'm a psychic. I'm telepathic. I'm Jesus this lifetime. I'm here to save the planet. And you're just here to get your rocks off by looking cool in your fancy clothes while you're giggling in front of the boss. Literally watching you in this video was humorous. It was disempowering to the company. It was airy, all air. It was, you definitely know that you weren't listening. You just knew the cameras were rolling. See, the difference between that, your company, and what he's building is you're on camera. And when you bring in cameras, people change. And so part of your concern and your problem is that you have to teach people about being on camera. And your responsibility if you do become the next May or the next Dustin, because you didn't even teach them that. Not to mention, go even deeper, because we've got binary, we've got gay, and we've got ethnicity. And then we've got judgment. And then we've got children involved. Then we've got Monavand. And then we've got travel across the globe into places like Saudi Arabia with an Egyptian. So your company will never thrive based on this. Although it will occur to you that you will be, you'll make tons of money. I'm sure you will make tons of money because you're a snake oil salesman, they say. You're a smooth talker. And then you always tend to make the sales, but life isn't about sales, at least according to you. And that's according to your audience. Not just your audience, but your staff members. That's what they say too. But that's fluff talk. Because it is all about sales. And so that's work-life balance, is trying to figure out fluff talk with money talks, with booby talks, with how old you are, because you're old. And you want people to think you're young, which then makes them see you as less valuable, which is what we see with Tyler when you're in Fanatics. I mean, he doesn't value you as a leader. He thinks you're his friend. And that's actually, if you watch Fanatics, you'll see the company culture, and some of you will think it's cool, but that's not cool. I've never, ever, after the age of 22, I learned a lesson when I disrespected a friend as a boss in my life. I saw my lack of professionalism, and I shifted my work-life balance after that encounter. But they also held me responsible for it, which is how I learned. Which is what we go back to with his what? Kind candor. I'm sorry, take the kind out. They were not kind to me either when they asked me to get my things to leave. I know you put your 2 weeks in, but just go. Okay, bye. Because the honest truth is you were pissed off at me because I wanted to quit. And I just didn't know how to communicate in my version of candor conversation because I was still learning my developmental skills in conversation. And it probably would have saved the relationship and created a less awkwardness when I see them out in public. However, now I could give two shits. It's them holding the grudge, which means I'm in integrity and they're out of integrity because they cannot let anything go. Meaning this is not unique to the business I'm speaking to either. This is like everybody's business. And this is a business that is full of, that has integrity in the business. See, all you hear in this is the negative, right? We're working through the negative. Right? We're working through the negatives. Although when you can pull out the nonsense shit, you actually get to culture. And then your life is like running through the meadow. Running through the meadow, running through the meadow, running through the meadow. And then you can do this to May, and May's not going to take advantage of you because you ran through the meadow with a genuine giraffe, and she's going to think you're stupid. And then when you come up with an idea, she's not going to be mean to you because you actually created culture and real connection. What else do I want to say? I don't know. I think that's it. Day trading attention is not what you think it is. The fact that you can't get that down to a T is evident on you don't really understand your own culture. Yeah, I'm not there in the behind the scenes, but when I'm watching what I'm watching him up to, I know you do not understand culture. Meaning this doesn't matter if we're in dentistry, if we're in advertising. Advertising is dentistry. So I actually have more skill in sales than you all do. And I've sold millions and billions of dollars worth of dental care. And that's harder than selling someone alcohol. That's harder than selling someone an end table or a Coca-Cola or Pepsi can. No, what I was up to was telling someone who didn't have any symptoms that they needed a new crown on their tooth that cost them $1,200. For someone who'd rather go buy the Coke or the whatever it was that got them to go on a fancy vacation. Well, I was competing with you. You do understand I was competing with you, right? Even Gary doesn't understand that I was competing with him. I'm competing with him to get someone to buy a crown that I know 100% the crown's going to break and he's going to lose the tooth, and then he'll have to pay $6,000 plus to get an implant with his business for them to go to see him at VCon. I was competing with him. And I won. I would win. Because you don't really understand the importance of dentistry, do you? And I'm not talking to Gary, I'm just talking to all of you. Boom! Wow, an epiphany, huh? Day trading attention, education. You day trade attention, me education. You day trade attention, me authentic education. You day trade attention, me education. You day trade, me education. You day trade, me education. Day trade more fun, education fun. Because the teacher's fun. Oh, I love to work with good people. It's just hard to find good people. Hold on, I have to show you my pants that I put on for this particular event, which I think are super duper cute. Hold on. Let's say, I'm just trying to figure out. Hello everyone, and welcome to today's event. We are going to be talking about day trading attention. Maybe we'll do that in another video. Actually, the lighting over here is a little bit better. Let me try that again over here. We're working on lighting because I don't know, it just doesn't look right. It's because I've got a window right here, I guess. Let me see. Oh, the old days were so much fun. Even before I died and came back to life, me and Gary used to have so much fun. And we were like just friends. Remember the old days, Gary? Do you or no? He was in love with me from the first time he saw me. Although we would never admit it because he was unhappily in a relationship. I don't even think he really was married, to be honest with you. I think he was lying. He's the one who made the first move, if you all want to know the truth. Which is why it pisses me off that I'm in this predicament. Although he is protecting me, I guess. But just to let everybody know, when you're dealing with LA, you're dealing with this. And I could sell a rock to a rock collector. Okay? I don't care if they're in LA or if they're in New York or California or in Florida. And it's because I have full integrity. I would never sell anything to anyone that I didn't see the value in them benefiting from. So that's the difference between me and you. I would never sign up for a product that didn't make me feel fulfilled inside. And then by doing such a thing, it's easily sold. And then you just get to be creative. And then work-life balance isn't even a question. You're just enjoying your job. Because that's another answer is you don't enjoy your job if you're looking already at work-life balance. That's actually your underlining question is, why am I so unhappy in this job? You cry at night when you go home. Consider that you're the source of the problem. But there are other people in the same building that are doing the exact same thing you're doing, and you're both doing it to each other, and then you're doing it to us as your customers. So this is stuff that most people will never recognize. That's why I'm so talented at this job. So the underlining question for morning night routine was, Gary, are you screwing Mona? The work-life balance is the girl who asked about screwing Mona. That girl's probably trying to sleep with her man. And that makes a big challenge at work, doesn't it? Especially when you cared about that someone a lot. And this is where your life starts to change and shift into a shallow existence where you turn into people like Mona, although you're way too young to already be there. So you as young people working in an organization who has full potential to meet a good person, to really have a friendship with, who will then cheat on you? I mean, I don't know about you, but that's the generation that y'all are creating right now. This is men and women. This is the aliens stepping in, just so you know. Meaning they're the ones that are making you think these seduction thoughts, which I told you in the tweet this morning, that if seduction is involved, then this is not professional. And that you know that they're a bad person. If you're standing next to someone at the coffee line and you say, hey, how's it going? It's good to see you today. Oh my gosh, yes, I would love to go have dinner with you sometime. I can do a whole session on relationships in the workplace because I actually married, my first husband was a coworker, and it was awful. He cheated on me the entire time. I still married him though, which was a horrible idea. And now, of course, that me and Gary work together, it's a nightmare, isn't it? Look what happened. Look what he's done to me. Shouldn't I be an angry, rotten, sour whore? Look at how hot I am. Shouldn't I be a complete bitter woman after? You should hear all the things that have happened to me. Yet I continue to believe in love. Consider that's what sells, not sex. And consider that you're going through that and we're all going through the same thing because the aliens and the people like Monovan are fucking destroying our lives. Yet you continuously choose them over real love. Noting too that the Democrats are also the ones that are responsible for this. Anywho, we're at 36 minutes. I went over time. I apologize. I must go. Thank you for listening.